A single leg squat represents how someone loads on one leg. This is a particularly important movement to assess and strengthen for those that are looking to return to running. Now, sometimes it's about appropriate movement prep and accessory strengthening movements to help set the single leg squat up for success. However, at some point, it can simply be about performing the pattern. This case study is a great example of how exploring variations of the exercise itself can change performance in the exercise. So let's check out what happened. So here you can see how she's having a hard time sitting down into her hips and instead getting a lot of rounding in her lower back. This is going to end up loading and lengthening more of her paraspinals and her quads compared to her glute max. Over here, we can see how she ends up shifting laterally into her hips instead of back and down. This is going to overly lengthen the glute med and position the distal adductor into a more shortened position. Both of these are going to affect pelvic stability and pelvic floor function. So let's go check out what we did. So it looks like she's holding a weight, but she's actually just holding her shirt out of the way. And so the first thing that I did is I changed where her free leg was. So at first her leg is behind her and I had her switch to positioning her foot in front of her. What this did is turned her pelvis towards that front leg so that she could sit more back and down into that glute rather than laterally into the side of her hip. This allowed her to load her glute max more over her glute med and helped keep her centered over her foot. Next, what we did is I gave her a little bit of a toe touch for a kickstand to take away some instability so we could work on more strength and greater range. And then I also gave her weight. So that weight helped kind of counterbalance and allowed her to sit back into her hips. I cued her to think as if she was trying to drive the weight up, but it wasn't going anywhere. And so instead, it helped her sit down and back into her glutes. So we can see how she's now able to maintain a nice long spine, get more opening in the back of her pelvis, and sit deeper into that squat. We can work on some stability components in other exercises, but here we can work on a greater range and more load for strengthening the sagittal plane movement. This can indirectly help the stability and create more balanced distribution of load through the lower body and unload the pelvic floor. Check out the caption and stay tuned later this week for more tips and tricks to get lower in your squat.